Hello, this is the Private Investigator Experience podcast. I'm your host, Phil Little. On this channel, we talk about the life and cases of a private investigator, and then we look globally at what's going on in the world that might affect us here at home. And right now, we have a major event in the Middle East that can very well affect us where we live, so we need to be informed. I look at everything I do on cases or events around the world through the lens of my military, law enforcement, intelligence, and global security background. Then I add just a my biblical worldview. If you watched me in the past to know anything about us at West Coast Detectives International, I have a biblical worldview, and I happen to believe that we can learn a lot from the Bible about what has gone on in the past, we can expect for the future, and how I can become a better investigator or whatever you're doing in life that you can become better at what you're doing by following the principles of the Bible. There's a topic around truth that has been going on now for years and years, and probably since the beginning of time. And the question is, what is real truth? Today, we're faced with misconception, misdirection, total lies that people want you to believe as being true. Now, this isn't a new phenomenon that's happened just in the last few years or in our particular time. We can go way back and find that it started a long time ago. Now, today I'm hearing a lot about people saying, well, I have my truth and you have your truth. Well, what does that really mean? Because people lie, people tell their own version of truth. I've heard some stats that are alarming. One was that approximately 60% of adults, including those who call themselves Christians, believe that they determine truth at the time of the event. And if it seems to fit with their view or moral outlook, or it helps them, well, it's okay to do it. And then, even more alarming than that, was teenagers who were asked, over 70% of them said the same thing. So truth was situational. There wasn't any hardcore foundation for things that are really true. Truth for them is situational, and it can change depending on how you feel. Well, we're in trouble if that's the case, and I think we know it, right? You don't have to know anything about the Bible or believe in God to know that this world's in trouble. When we look around at what's happening in our own country and the decline in the freedoms and a disregard for history of our country and how it was formed. The out and out lie that people say that the U.S., America, was not formed on Christian principles. Well, the facts are there if anyone wants to investigate that shows that it was. But so many of us, and I've been there times in my life, we were just too busy to get involved to find out what the facts were. So we took whoever we were listening to and accepted that as being fact. Well, what is it about truth? The Bible says in John 8:32 in the New Testament, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Well, who said this? It was Jesus. Now, even if you don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and one of the triune Godhead, you know the name. You've heard the name Jesus. Some just believe that he was a prophet or a good man. And they've heard about this statement, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Well, what then is real truth? When did truth start to be disregarded as a foundation of our life and world? We have to go back to the beginning in Genesis 3, where God made a perfect world. He created Adam and Eve. At the beginning, they were perfect and without sin to the point that God would come down in the evening and walk with them and talk with them. The God of the universe who created all that there was. But there was also evil around. And even though God had told Adam and Eve that they could eat anything except the one tree in the middle of the garden, it happened to be the tree of life, and God said But the moment you eat of that tree, you will die. Now, that wasn't an instant death, but it was going to start the decline, that age would take over. And now they would die at some point in their life, even though God made them not to die in the beginning. They listened to the lie from Satan, who said to Eve, "You will not surely die." Now, this is the first of the attempts, it worked in this case, to point out that what God said really wasn't true. He really wouldn't kill them. And Satan knew what it meant. They would die instantly, be struck down, but they would now start to decline that we're still faced with in the world today. They started the deception at this time, what truth really is. Now we're dealing with the results. Or comment from the Old Testament, which we are living out today, is in Isaiah 59, verses 14 and 15. So, justice is driven back, and righteousness stands at a distance. Truth has stumbled in the public square and cannot enter. Doesn't that sound familiar? I listen to some of these politicians. They out and out lie. Total lie. And it's okay. I'm a politician. I can lie. And so many people believe it. And then this chapter, verse in Isaiah goes on, truth is nowhere to be found. And whoever shuns evil is plundered. In other words, if you stand up against evil and try to tell truth, you're ostracized or put out or disenfranchised, and you're just cast aside. Well, have you ever wondered how could our education in the U.S. at all levels become an ideological tool of the radical progressive left? If we go back about 50 years, we can see the acceleration start at the college level. And over the years, due to their success at the college level, they moved now to the kindergarten up because we, the people, were silent. It happened slowly, step by step. And as it did, we just accepted it. Oh, this was the norm now. This is not, though, a recent problem, but it is the same plan working that has been used for centuries. I was taken by a statement by Joseph Goebbels, who was Hitler's Minister of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda. Oh, that's a good ministry to have. Enlightenment and propaganda. I quote, Mr. Joseph Goebbels said this: if you tell a big enough lie and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such a time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes virtually important for the state, listen to this, to use all its powers to repress dissent. For the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state. End of quote. That was Hitler's viewpoint. Think about today in our own country. What is happening today? Thinking back to 2020 and the pandemic and the lie that was. Now that's been proven. Wherever you stood during that time, we were all in fear at first and wanted to make sure that we did everything prudent to protect ourselves and our friends and our family. And it turned out to be a ploy by the government to put us under their control. And that was exactly what Hitler used. That's what Iran has used to subvert their people. And they've used the force, great force, to destroy their people and keep themselves in control. And there's another letter that I found that was interesting. Several years ago, there was an article in the Federalist magazine by an English teacher, August Marat, titled How Public Schools Indoctrinate Kids Without Hardly Anyone Noticing. I quote, people who are indoctrinated with a certain narrative or ideology do not arrive at the intended conclusion by their own thinking, but they hear the same thing over and over a million different ways until they take it as unquestionable truth. Does that sound familiar? Because that's exactly what's happened in our schools. Two important things about truth. Number one, what is the source or standard of truth? And second, what is the understanding of truth or the definition of truth? First, the source or standard. This is a fundamental aspect of truth, the source. This is not like someone coming to you and saying, so and so told me this. You say, "Yeah, well, if this person that told you is something when I believe, I will accept it. And if it's a person I don't believe, I won't accept it." So it's based on who's said it, right? It's based on the source. Truth is by, excuse me, the universal standard, which all things are judged true or false. Truth is the universal standard, which all things are judged true or false. What then is the source of truth? That you can evaluate all things through it to determine if it's true or false. Here's an example. We know the sun comes up in the east and goes down in the west. Nobody really fights that. Water seeks its own level. We could go on and on. And is universal. It doesn't change. Why is that then? It's because God is the source of truth, and God never changes. Now, we could preach a good sermon on this, but I think you get the idea. We need a solid foundation on which we can judge what is truth and what is false. The only way to do that is with what God says, for if we use our own minds, we will get it wrong more times than not. I want to leave you with Gobel's statement. Remember again what he has said about truth. If you tell a big enough lie and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. Doesn't that sound like our political progressive folks that they keep standing up in Congress and everywhere else, keep telling the same lie over and over, and people will believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such a time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all its powers to repress dissent. Truth is the greatest enemy of the state. So, what are we going to do about that? I'm not trying to change your mind about anything. All I want you to do is check it out for yourself, do your own investigation, as I have done on a lot of these topics, and make your own decision. Then, if you find that you're alarmed, things have accelerated much longer than you've realized, that you'll stand up and do something. You'll let your voice be heard. You'll go before school board and local areas starting in your own community and start to take back freedoms that have been taken away from us. The question is then, what do I do? How can I, at a time when the effort to destroy our freedoms it's on the downhill slide and accelerating fast. We've crossed over the top. It's come up to the top. Now they've come out in the open and it's accelerating so fast that they feel like they've got enough people on their side, enough people convinced of the lie that they can take over. And there's a danger there of doing that. Leave me your comments on any of the platforms. I'd love to hear what you think. If you check it out and find out what the facts are, let me know what you found out and maybe how you've changed with what the facts have told you. You can leave those on any of the platforms, or you can email me at pi777 at gmail.com. And remember, you can help me by liking, sharing, subscribing, and you know the drill. Hit the notification bell for future posts. Time is short, folks. I don't know when the end's going to come. Nobody does. Only God knows when he's going to have enough of the destruction of his world. But I want to be ready. I want to be proactive. I want to be out telling truth, not my truth, but God's truth. That's the only thing that any of us can believe in. May God bless you, your family. May God bless America. Be safe until next time.